Hey everyone, this is Jason Owens from Campaign Sauce. Hope you are doing extremely well today. I'm here to talk to you about why you're not getting the most from your CRM and what you can do about it. By the end of this presentation, I'm going to give you a checklist that you can use in your company right now today. Start working through this checklist so that you can start getting more from your CRM. All right, so let's dive in. Okay, so the intended audience here, really, it's the people overall who were responsible for bringing the CRM to your company in the first place, all right? So again, decision makers who approved it, and long story short, that's the intended audience. When we think about the deliverable here, again, I want to give you a checklist that you can use and use that really as a framework. Use these slides, use this video as a bit of a framework that you can go to. Fast forward here to the spot where I expose the checklist, and then you can use this in your management meetings to, again, just start kind of going down and checking off the items, see where you feel you're doing well and where you're not. Okay. In the time that I've been helping companies implement software, I find, I'm going to say 80+% of the time, the problem is not really with the software, okay? It's really on the people side. So if you've been following me for any time at all, you'll know that, yes, I love technology, but I'm also really big on culture, because if the culture doesn't use the tool, then what good is it, right? So the problem is not with the software, it's with that post-implementation culture and the executive follow-through. All right, so let's talk a little bit about industry trends here very quickly, and then we're going to dive into the checklist itself. So having a CRM does not necessarily mean that people are adopting it. And then if you have people who are using it, so people who are adopting, that doesn't really mean that the company's doing the best that they can, right? So that's not optimization. All right, so I've got a couple slides here with some stats on it. 92% of companies have a CRM. Less than half are using this across teams. Okay, so think about this. If you have a marketing team and a sales team and maybe a digital development team, right? So very few of companies, less than half, are actually sharing this beyond one team inside their company. It may even be a customer service team, right? So a lot of CRMs these days have a lot of capabilities to them, but it might be that it's we're just going to keep this just for the salespeople. So okay, I mean that's definitely a start. That's a place to begin, but you could be getting so much more out of it if you bring in other teams. All right, so CRM usage continues to grow. All right, so let's check out this. The global CRM market by 2027 is going to reach over 114 billion. That's with a B. That is a blessed large market, okay? So long story short, folks, CRMs are not going anywhere. They are great tools. Companies have been using them for a while, and at least for the past 20, 25 years. And they just keep getting better. They keep getting more fully featured, more fully built out. And that's the off-the-shelf version if you are lucky enough to have internal staff to help you develop inside your CRM even more so. All right, increased customer retention. This is a great stat that we ended up pulling out. Organizations that fully adopt CRM strategies, they are reporting a 47% improvement in retention and loyalty. That's a pretty big deal, right? And of course, we all know this, the stat that it's a lot easier to keep a current client than it is to go out and find a new one. Well, imagine if you can do a better job of hanging on to the clients you already have. So yeah, a really big deal. Next one are the productivity gains, right? So people love seeing just how automation can help, right? So CRMs do a great job of that. In fact, this stat from HubSpot says that companies that are using CRM usually see a 29% boost in their productivity. And again, here comes the automation and the forecasting. So again, the automation piece is big. I love the automation piece, and that's one of the things that I think companies get the most benefit from early on. Like if you're looking for some early wins, the automation can certainly be one of those places to look for it. All right, and better decision making, right? So why do people use CRMs? Well, once you're in there, you have good data, so you have the analytics coming in. 42% of companies say that they have companies using CRM analytics saw 42% more accurate sales forecasting, right? So whenever you have a better handle on your organization and you're doing a better job of being able to forecast sales, you can start making some good old-fashioned strategic changes, and you can take advantage of the market rather than having the market take advantage of you, right? Okay, so the last one is just simply the cost of non-compliance, right? So why would you not want to use it, right? I went ahead and put this image here because I've seen a lot of people just think of a CRM of, oh, okay, I understand. This is where I store all of my stuff. This is where I put all of my proposals and stuff. This is my digital filing cabinet. No, not really. It's supposed to be a way to help you interact with your folks a lot better. So anyway, this is not necessarily meant to be, we're going to take a paper-based office and make it a digital office. That's not the whole intent of a CRM. It can be a part of it, but it's not the intent. Okay, so here we go. Top 5 roadblocks to a full CRM adoption. Well, guys, coming in at number 1 is lack of leadership buy-in. Okay, so again, depending upon where you are, what size of company you're in, this could be a really big deal, right? And the CRM is just going to change the world, right? And you have CRM sales reps in there saying, we're going to triple your sales with this CRM. It's just going to be the greatest thing. Okay, so yeah, in the sales process, there can be a lot of amazing claims. Some of them may be overblown claims about just what a CRM can do for you. And yes, there are going to be some leaders who are like, look, really? Do we really need to do this? We're getting along just fine with putting stuff on a whiteboard or sticky notes or Excel spreadsheet. I mean, really, do we really need to be doing this? Because there are other things I'd rather spend money on, and we're going to do this. So yeah, not having leadership buy-in is a pretty big deal. Number 2, okay, now again, earlier I said roughly 80% of the time it's the people, not more so than the software. Well, on occasion, again, depending upon how the software is implemented or which tool you're buying, yeah, some of these CRMs are just easier to use than others, okay? So depending upon what CRM you end up with, it could be easy to use. It could be a real pain in the neck to use, okay? And if your people find this to be overbearing, the quickest and easiest excuse is, look, do you want me sitting here messing around behind a computer all day long, or do you want me out selling stuff? Well, most executives are going to say, look, I want you out selling. Okay. So anyways, if you do a good job of really making this an easy user experience, then it's a lot harder to have the argument of, gosh, this is just too hard to use. Okay. Insufficient training and ongoing support. Very common whenever you're rolling out a CRM. These things come out in layers, okay? So this week or this month, we now have this capability or this function. Next month, we're going to bring in your ability to email from inside the system. The month after that, we're going to show you guys how to do your proposals and send proposals from inside the system. So again, if you try to train all of those at once, it's just going to be complete and total overkill, and a lot of people, frankly, aren't going to get it. And depending upon what age range and what tech savviness you have there, that could be a really easy training process. It might take a couple bites at the apple for people to really get this. So again, if you just kind of steamroll this into the organization and flood people with training, okay, yeah, we got the training done, check the box, we're done, why aren't you using it? Frankly, people are probably pretty blasted overwhelmed with the system. So anyway, that is a big deal. Lack of integration with other tools. Gosh, I thought you guys were going to show me how to use this to mail out of Outlook. I like Outlook. I don't want to mail out of the CRM. If I mail something from Outlook, why isn't it going into my CRM, right? What's the connection? I set an appointment for my client. I put it on my Outlook calendar. Why is it not over here in the CRM? Why do I have to take an extra step to go enter that appointment into my calendar or inside my CRM? So anyways, lack of integration with other tools, again, kind of going back to now I've got double entry I have to do. Yeah, so that can be a problem. And again, if it's addressed well and early on, then that stops being a barrier. Again, last thing here is just really no clear accountability. If, again, depending on the structure of your company, great, this tool's rolled out and I'm a manager, my boss isn't really holding me accountable. I mean, I'm going to probably do the least that I have to do until someone asks me about it, right? I've already got 18 things on my plate and now here's something else. So if I'm not being held accountable, chances are pretty good I'm not going to hold my people accountable, right? So anyway, having incentives early on is a really big deal. So again, we have a little bit of carrot and stick happening there, so we'll get to that a little bit more in the checklist. All right, so here we go. How to get the most from your current CRM. Here's the checklist I promised, and let's go ahead and just dive straight into it. Okay, so let's go through and identify what some of these bottlenecks look like, right? So there's a path that you can do. You can go through and do a bit of a diagnostic review. You can talk with your people. Just, hey, help me understand, why aren't you using this? What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? And again, if that's approached properly and approached well, then, it doesn't look like a carrot or stick conversation. It doesn't look like something that's bad. It just looks like hey, help me understand what's going on here. So anyways, go through and just talk to your folks, right? Why is this not working? Is it because the reporting isn't well? It's too long, takes, it's cumbersome, right? So anyway, you get the idea. Just go through and start identifying bottlenecks. Next one is go back and re-engage your leadership team. Okay, so hey, executives, guess what? We really do expect you and your team to use this tool, right? And that needs to, what I've found is that if you button something in at the top of the organization and you button it in down at the bottom of the organization, so good expectation, good training all the way through top to bottom, tends to work very well. If you do not do a good job with either of those two, you're going to end up with a bad implementation. Okay. Simplify the process. Now, again, this kind of gets into more sales process, sales procedure, maybe even marketing. So we have some leads coming in. How easy is it for me to move a lead from, this is just a name on an email list, over to, hey, this is somebody who just raised their hand and now we need to contact them, right? So there's that defining that process between what's the right time. Am I really truly handing a good lead over to sales? From sales, do I really have a good process in here for understanding what folks need and being able to use my CRM to help me understand that quicker, and being able to use the CRM to help me close deals faster, okay? So again, that's going to take a bit of an audit to walk through that process. Okay, and then guess what? Address those user concerns. So we talked earlier about going through and doing the audit, finding out where the roadblocks are. You close that loop by saying, hey, listen, we heard you. A lot of you we talked to, and you're identifying X, Y, and Z. We just fixed letter Z, and here it is. And next month, we're going to end up rolling out the fix to X that you guys told us was a problem, right? So closing that loop and doing a great job of communicating that we have fixed these things that you were concerned about. And then going back to just good old-fashioned integrate with those other tools. And again, you're going to have to do a bit of a judgment call here. You can't integrate with everything, right? Maybe it's just cost prohibitive. But the easy things of integrating with your mail, integrating with your calendar, maybe even having some SMS apps that you, again, attach to your CRM, so that being able to communicate to, say, the SMS savvy clients and prospects will be easier. So by all means, make sure that you're integrating with the other tools. So there we go. Last piece here is incentivizing adoption. So I went ahead and put more bullet points to this slide because I think this is really important, especially in the early days. So using rewards and recognition to encourage CRM engagement. Now, before you dismiss this as being maybe a little cheesy, frankly, I found that there are people who are really motivated by this kind of thing, right? And maybe some of the employees that maybe you wouldn't expect, but having some kind of adoption metrics. Again, a lot of these CRMs out there will have an adoption report to it, so that literally as management, you can go in and click on this adoption report, and you can get a really good feel very quickly for who's using the system and who isn't. You can get a good feel for who's even logged into the system and who hasn't. So you can start at the bare bones basics with a login report and say, hey, look, hey guys, here's the names of all the people who logged in, congratulations. Again, treat this with a little bit of kid gloves here, because you're going to immediately trigger the, oh, Big Brother's watching me scenario. And if that's already in your company, if people understand that they're already being monitored and watched, maybe it's not such a big deal. But if folks if you've never had that Big Brother's watching conversation in your corporation or in your company, then you'll want to handle that with kid gloves. Gamify the adoption, right? So leaderboards and rewards. That's really easy to do in the sales side, probably even easier to do in the marketing side as well, with what landing pages are generating the most leads, right? And it was Betty over here who designed the number one lead page that drew in the most leads this week. And with sales, of course, it's just looking at who are the big clients, who are the people bringing in the most brand new deals identified in the given month, or who has the largest pipeline in a given month. Okay, so anyways, you get the idea, and The fourth bullet point here of offering financial incentives, treat that one with kid gloves as well. I've seen that work pretty well. Sometimes it leads to people gaming the system. So I would do that later in the adoption rather than earlier in the adoption. But it certainly does drive the point home. Once you have some reports and metrics and expectations in place, it's a good idea, or it's actually a powerful motivator to go through and actually reward people with a little bit of financial incentives, whether it's a gift card or some cash or Starbucks or whatever works for you. Rewards work. People are motivated by those. All right. I love the last bullet point about creating those internal champions to go through and drive engagement. So just going back to some good old hammer and champy re-engineering the organization from way back in the 90s, somebody needs to own a given process. So somebody needs to be the owner, the champion in your company for this CRM. And that person just needs to be the evangelist and just keep driving that adoption. So anyway, so that's it. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up here with a couple quick slides. Your CRM is really only as powerful as the culture that supports it. Okay, so you will hear me talk culture. Like I said at the beginning, you'll hear me talk culture quite a bit. I'm a huge fan of it. The software is nice, but software is only a tool. And reviving your CRM, it doesn't require some massive overhaul. It just requires being intentional about it, right? You can just take that 1% per month, right? Let's just make it 1% better. And the month after that, let's just make it 1% better, and then 1% better, right? It doesn't have to be this Herculean effort that takes up an extraordinary amount of your time. Okay, guys, your CRM can be your most valuable asset, but of course, like any tool, you got to get people to use it. All right. So listen. I really appreciate you being here. My name again is Jason Owens. Reach out to me at campaignsauce.com, and I do have a get started for free offer that's up right now. So go check that out on my homepage. Sign up. I would love to get to know you. Would love to help your organization. All right, everyone, take care.